me coming out, and I just have to live, and I wanna give. I'm completely positive. I think this time around I am gonna do it like you never knew it. Oh, I'll make it through. The time has come for me to break out of the shell. I have to shout that I am coming out.
Welcome to the show Never Too Late Ever, where we focus on making the next chapter of your life the very best chapter ever. I am your host, Lorraine Hoving from It's About Time, and I am so glad you are joining us today. This day will change your life. Open your heart, open your ears, and listen. You may find a gem, a treasure that you can apply to your life today. Well, I am excited because today we have a guest. This is going to be a great conversation, and her name is Renee. Hi, Renee. How are you today?
I'm great, Lorraine. How are you? And thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Hey, I would like to tell you a little bit about Renee before we get into it. Renee has cultivated and inspired individuals and teams for over a decade. And after over 25 years working in corporate America, she started her professional training and speaking as an instructor at Women Helping Women. Sounds good. A nonprofit organization where she donated her time helping the unemployed and the underemployed find and keep their jobs. After suffering a devastating illness that took away her voice, then a few years later, the loss of her best friend and then father, Renee decided to follow their example to never give up. Now, that legacy is how Renee has chosen to live her life and help others, showing them that just when you feel life is closing in on you, there is always a way out. She works with women struggling with limiting beliefs so they can find their voice and gain more clarity and confidence to go from surviving to thriving. And I want to talk about the voice today because I had read a little bit about your story, but I want you to start out, Renee. First of all, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and then tell us about the devastating illness that you had, because I'm just kind of curious and how that can fit in with our audience, especially the never too late ever, that their voice is still important.
Absolutely, and thank you for that, Lorraine. Well, I am from New Jersey originally, born in the Bronx, raised in New Jersey for about 16 and a half years, then moved to Southern California, which is where I now reside for the past several decades. I won't go into exactly how many, but it's been a while since I've been out here in sunny Southern California. And in 2013, I had an illness, which is interesting that we're doing this interview in 2020, because the illness I had in 2013 is kind of a, reminiscent of that time, because I was not allowed to be with the public. If I were to go out in public, I had to wear a mask. And it was just a very devastating, yeah, I know. So it's like a deja vu in a way of what's going on. The difference for me personally is that in 2013, while I was at home looking at my four walls, I was also in tremendous pain because it's a virus. And, with a virus, there's not an antibiotic because it's not a bacterial infection. It's viral. So there was nothing any doctor could give me. I had 2 trips to the ER. This was a virus that took over my vocal cords and took away the ability to speak. And it was very devastating mentally, physically, emotionally, and psychologically, because there was a lot of physical pain associated with this illness, so much so that I could not swallow my own saliva without bringing tears into my eyes.
Wow.
It was just horrendous.
Now, this was a viral infection. Do you know where would have you got it? Do you have any idea? Or?
Well, what the doctors said, they ended up taking close to 19 vials of blood trying to figure out what happened to me and how could they fix it. The thing is, they could not do anything because it was a matter of time and the good grace of God and my angels right now in heaven that I got better. At the time, my best friend was still here with me, and so she was my angel from heaven on earth, and I wouldn't have survived without her. It was just, you really need people in your life to help you when the chips are down, and boy, were they ever.
Wow.
Even though she couldn't spend time with me, she would come and drive up my driveway wearing a mask, and she would drop off food for me that she felt I could eat or could drink, like good, something to. She knew I wasn't taking care of myself because I couldn't. I literally was so weak and in so much pain that I could not care for myself. So she would never stay long because I was so contagious. But she did. She was there long enough to drop off food and check in on me. Yeah, it was very tough time in my life.
Oh my gosh. Were you married or at the time or?
No, I'm a single gal, and it was just that's why it was good to have a best friend to come and take and drop food off because there was nobody with me. Nobody was there with me. I couldn't be with my parents because they were even older at the time, and if being that a doctor said you're highly contagious, you are not allowed to be with the public, were his words.
Wow.
If you're highly contagious, you can't be with the public. You can't be with your friend or your family. You can't be with anybody.
But so, what a wonderful best friend you had. Yes.
Oh gosh, was she ever? Absolutely. When you asked the question of do they know how I got it, the answer is no. What I will say though is I strongly believe that when we, and I speak collectively as a we, are in a rundown condition. I was in a very rundown condition. I was working retail at the time and burning the candles at both ends. And when we're in a rundown condition, our bodies are more susceptible to illness. And I was in a very, rundown state, and that's all I could imagine. And somebody that may have been sick around me, my body was like an open sore ready to accept it in because I was in such a weakened state. And I think that's really what happened. It was. If you think about the Christmas season as it was in past years, and, we're open late, and, I was one of the managers that was closing. I was the only the only senior manager that was closing the store that night. And I couldn't call in sick. I knew I was not feeling well when I went in, and I'm not advocating going into work when somebody is sick. However, I knew that it was the Christmas season, and there's nobody that could have gotten at that point to cover, and I figured, just get through this night, and you can go to the doctor the next day because I was off. But as that night wore on, I was feeling worse and worse. By the time it was 1:00 in the morning, I was going to my car with chills and barely able to swallow. So it was it was tough. The next morning, I ended up taking myself to urgent care. And I had told the doctor there that I felt like there was a sore, that it was like sitting in the middle of my throat. And she actually agreed with me and said, there is a sore. It's not a sore throat. It's a sore in your throat. I told her that. It didn't feel like a regular sore throat. So the next day, she sent me home because she did like a rapid strep test, and there was no sign of strep. There was a low-grade fever because there was an infection in my system. And the next morning, and I woke up feeling like 10 times worse, if I could even imagine that. It was 10 times worse. And my best friend took me back to urgent care, and that one sore exploded into my throat. And she never told me how many there were. Yeah, she just told my best friend she needs to get to the ER like now. And so off we went. Yeah.
Wow. Just out of nowhere, Renee. I mean, my gosh. Now, then did you lose your voice at that point when that exploded, or what happened?
It was pretty quickly, because I remember laying in the ER and the little voice that was there. The reason I couldn't talk to the store, they were so painful. I mean, if people out there are hearing this and thinking if they had a really bad sore throat or strep or something, it's like 10x or 100x to that. It's just something that you can't even fathom. It's very, very hard to imagine something that painful. I really thought, and this sounds dramatic, and I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I actually wanted to pass because the thought of surviving, like blood curdling pain, another day, another. It was just horrific and horrendous to think of. And the thing is, there was nothing they can give me to soothe it. Like, let's give her,
Yeah.
like drink this or take this pill. There was no magic pill or magic bullet to drink or to take. And they couldn't say what it was or when it was going to go away. So there was no time that I could say, well, I know this is getting better. I know it's getting better. There was nothing in my head to say it was getting better, and no information from a doctor to say it's getting better. Every phone call was, let's send you for more blood work to figure out what the heck you have.
Right.
And
Right.
they knew it was a virus. They just couldn't put their finger on it as to, once you know what something is, you can start fixing it and making it better. And there was nothing they can do. The thing I really needed was the gift of time to heal.
Right. Right. So I think what you're expressing is that you didn't at that point when you thought you might want to die is because you didn't have any hope. You couldn't see weren't providing you that this will get over like next month or whatever. So
No,
I
there
can
was
imagine
like
you'd feel just
yeah.
defeated. Yeah.
You know what, as you know, and I'm a pretty upbeat person and positive, and the last thing I was everything but that. I went into a depression, no contact with the things I love most is, aside from God, I don't want to put him aside, but the one thing is God, and next to that is my family. Next to God is my family. The two things I love most in this life. After that would be speaking and connecting with people. I lost the ability to speak, and I lost the ability to connect. It's not like in 2013, well, let's just, message this one. There was no I think I was instant messaging my mom on AOL at the time, if that puts things in perspective. And I was the pain was like so bad that it's not like catch up on your soaps or go read a book. When you're in that kind of pain, you want to like crawl under a rock and just, you want to go away. You want to get out of your own skin. It's not like just do something else to take your mind off of it. The thing that I'm also going to say is you don't realize how many times in a day you swallow until you can't.
Yeah, no, I can't. I cannot imagine that. And I've had bad chronic pain sometimes in my back, and I had it for I believe 3 or 4 weeks. And I said to my husband, I can honestly now understand when somebody has chronic pain, how it could almost drive you insane because you can't get away from it. And I can't imagine with your vocal cords because you're having to swallow. Were you able to eat at that time?
Very, very little, because when you can't swallow your own saliva, the thought of putting food down your throat or even a drink was just
okay.
Yeah.
So how long did this last?
It lasted about close to 4 months.
That
is it could, I know, imagine like one day is one day too many. 4 months. And the thing is, it was 24/7. It's not like, sometimes I know like when people aren't feeling well, I know in the past for me when I hadn't felt well or something, if you have a sore throat or you're not well, like the morning and the evening are usually the worst because maybe you're laying down or you just got up, and the afternoon usually seems better. This was like not one point of the day where I'm like, okay, I look forward to the afternoon because it's better, or this point of the day. There was like, I look forward to nothing. I look forward to going to bed so I could get out of the pain. The thing that happened though is that I must have swallowed in my sleep, because there were nights that I'd wake up crying because I must have swallowed because the pain woke me up. So yeah, it's, there's something I want to.
So Renee,
Go ahead.
Yeah, because you painted a picture of it perfectly, because we can all feel, my audience can feel how that would be so debilitating. So how did you get yourself out of there? Because I know that you had days of just depression, feeling like you couldn't go on. How did you get yourself from there to now we hear your nice, wonderful, loud, clear voice? And how did you get out of that hole that you were in?
I'm going to say that it's having my best friend in my life, because she didn't give up on me. And even when I wanted to give up on myself, knowing that there was one other soul out there that cared enough to cook for me and go to the store for me when I never even asked, to make sure that I had nutrition coming my way and that I had somebody who loved me and cared about me